guys, so today I'm here to finally wrap up my reading month of the month of February. Because my holiday started in the last couple of days of February and then carried on to nearly halfway through March, I have not had a chance to film a wrap up, I haven't had a chance to film a book haul. Like, there are so many things that I needed to film, and I knew that this was gonna happen because I wrote down a list of videos I would need to film before I left, and the list just kept getting longer and longer, and I've already added to it since I got back. But at least I'm finally here to do the wrap up for the month, and I read 8 books in total, and I'm so excited. So the first book I finished was The Disasters by M.K. England, and I did want to finish this book off in January because it was part of my plan of trying to read the YA Chronicle books early, but really, February is not that bad. It's not like some of the ones that have been there for like 3 years now that I have not read, but it just feels like I read this so long ago. Like, I can't even remember what happened, man. And I'm pretty sure I gave it 4 stars, and for some reason something stopped me from giving up more stars. Like, something irritated me. Like, was it the plot or the story or the character? Like, something that I was just like, it's too much. And I can't even remember, it's been that long. But I did generally like the idea of this story, and there's a lot of diversity throughout the characters, and that was a lot of fun. But damn, there was something being so long. But I still did enjoy this book. Like, I'm not saying it was a bad book. The character banter was a lot of fun, and like, I did like this like found family like crew because they're trying to save themselves, because like the space station they're on gets exploded and they're all blamed for it. They have to try and prove their innocence, and it was a lot of fun. And I thought it was a cool space opera story, but really there was something that stopped me from liking it completely, but it's just been so long that I can't remember. Okay, so the first audiobook I listened to was The Kiss Quoten by Helen Huang, and I hope I said that all right because I feel like I say her last name wrong, because it looks like it does say Huang or Huang, like it's something like that. And like the Quoten, I keep saying Quoten and I'm like, is that even right? But I loved this, and everyone kept talking about it and raving about it, and I saw it on my audiobook site and I'm like, yep, gonna listen to this, and it was so good. I loved Stella and I loved Michael, and their relationship is so cute yet so angsty that I couldn't deal half the time, but I just loved them so much. And it was such a great story, and like just all the elements that went into making this story, it was just like so much, and I loved it so much. And everyone needs to read this because it's such a good book, and I honestly think the audiobook is the best way to listen to it, because I could have read this physically but I would have been getting a bit like, oh, because it's a bit seamy. So listening to it was a lot better, but you're in your car driving and then it gets like really dirty and you're like, ooh. And you just hope that no one is hearing it as you drive past, because that is my fear when I listen to music, because I don't have it too loud because you don't want to go deaf. But sometimes on my audiobooks it's a bit like, oh my god, what am I listening to? But I still really loved it. Okay, next I read The Chaos of Standing Still by Jessica Brody. This is one that I've been dying to read, and it was a solid 4 stars because I wasn't a fan of the main character and I wasn't really a fan of her dead best friend. This book only took place over 24 hours, and it was actually so amazing that the author managed to keep the story going for this long when it was only 24 hours, and so many things were happening. So in this book, like, the main character's best friend died a year previous, and she's been just kind of going through life not really doing anything or feeling anything, and she's catching a plane to go back to her family to spend Christmas with them. And then there's this big snowstorm and the planes all get delayed and she's stuck there for the night, and then she ends up meeting this guy Xander, and like they just click, man, they click, and it didn't feel insta-lovey, and I loved their relationship and the friendship that developed between them as well. They just had a lot of shenanigans across the day and the night, and I really enjoyed it, but I just couldn't connect with Rin. Rin was just too much for me. Okay, next I read Always Never Yours by Emily Wibberley and Osman Sigmund Broker. There's 2 authors with this, and they are married, and I love it, and they were both like school teachers, so they know the school life, guys. So this book is about Megan, and she is like known as kind of like the school flirt, and she has a lot of boyfriends and that, and she's just known to be a person that's kind of always in a relationship. But what happens is every time her boyfriend breaks up with her, they end up with the person they're meant to be with. So she is the Rosaline of this story, guys. So this is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, but she's Rosaline, and she is an aspiring director, and she's in the drama club, but she never goes in the plays because it's not her forte. Like, she doesn't like acting. When they decide to do Romeo and Juliet as the school play, she gets cast as Juliet, and she doesn't know what to do, but then she gets stuck into the play and she wants it because there's a school that she really wants to get into, and she needs an acting credit, and she does the play. And she's also starts up a friendship with this guy named Owen, who is writing a play about about Rosaline, and it's all very Romeo and Juliet-y, and I just loved it. Like, it was actually so good and such a good premise for a book, and I loved the way that it was a retelling, but the story was actually in the book, but it wasn't a retelling, but then it was, and the characters were amazing, and I do really recommend this book because it was just a great contemporary, and it was just a lot of fun to read. Okay, next I read Love and Gelato by Jenna Evans Walsh, and this has been on my TBR for so long, and I was just like, mate, I am reading it for the contemporary fun, and I loved it so much. It made me want to go to Italy like straight away. Lena, the main character's mum, just died of cancer 6 months prior to the book, and she's gone to go live with her dad who lives in Italy, and she doesn't want to be there. She doesn't want to go to a whole nother country, and she doesn't want to know the man who somewhat abandoned her, or she never really knew him as a father, but she's never known this person. She's in Italy, and it's a beautiful city, but she just can't get past the fact that her mother's dead, and she's in this foreign place. But then she gets given a journal of the time that her mum spent in Italy because she studied for a year abroad. And as Lena is reading through this notebook, she's sort of discovering that she's doing the same things that her mother did at the same time, and she starts to get really connected to her mother, and she also meets this guy called Ren, and he goes along with her on this journey, and there was a lot of fun in this book and a lot of intriguing details, and I definitely found that it was a very good, like, summery romance, such a good family story, and this is another one that I recommend. Like, this was just so adorable and I loved it so much. Okay, next I finally read Wind Witch by Susan Dennett, and I buddy read this with Jacqueline and Sarah because we finally got back into our buddy reads, and man, I kind of didn't like this book as much as I hoped to. Just all the characters are apart right now. Literally all the POVs are in a different area except for 2. And all it felt like they were doing was just walking to the next village, then walking down this street, then walking down this road. Like, nothing happened. Like, we do get Merrick's sister's point of view in this book, and she was probably the most interesting part of this thing, but it just felt like nothing happened. And then you get to the end, and because I was so uninvested with how bored I wasn't really connecting to the ending of the story, and I'm just kind of like, why? Like, why is this happening? And I really wanted to enjoy it because, like, I was so excited for Blood Witch, and I'm still gonna read it, and I hope that everyone kind of merges together a bit more. And yeah, I had high expectations and they were not met with this book. And the other audiobook I listened to was American Street by Ivy Zaboy, and man, I did not know this was gonna hit me so hard. I think I gave this 4 stars because I had a hard time connecting to this because of the voice of the audiobook. It was just so hard to take it seriously because it sounded like a 40-year-old woman, and I'm like, you are playing a 17-year-old girl or a 16-year-old girl. But this was just such a real story of how people can be so racist and rude and like police brutality. And I did like the nice fun moments, and like Kasim, I love him so much, and his relationship with Fabiola was so pure, but like so many bad things are happening. Like, there's drugs, there's murders, there's parties, there's people getting bashed, man. Like, it's all happening, and it got a bit much at parts of this book, and by the end of it I was really upset. And because it was an audiobook, I was crying a bit. Like, the ending really got me and I was not okay. And I do recommend people reading it so you can then talk to me and have my feel, because like I don't really know anyone else that's read this book. Like, I had one friend that I talked to about it, and we talked about it for a bit. It was a bit like, but I need more people to talk about. If you are prepared for this type of story, you should read it, but if you are not, don't read it. And the last book I read this month was Imprison the Sky by A.C. Gorgon, and oh my god, this was amazing. Now, Rain the Earth was my favorite book of last year, so of course this was an anticipated read, and even though I was a bit wary because this book had a new character narrating it, it was just as good. Honestly, it was just as good. So in this book, the main character's name is Aspasia, I think is how you say it. Like, I just read it and it was is what the name looks like, and now that I have to film a video and talk about it, I'm like, what is your name? But she has been a slave like most of her life, and she got separated from her siblings when she was younger. She got sold to a slave trader, and now she trades in slaves, and she's got her own ship, and on her ship she has heaps of children that have got elemental magic, and she protects them. And she also has this rule that she only trades male slaves, so she never takes children or women, and she kind of has this code, but it's a really tough situation. She has to do it because she could die and her crew could die, but she doesn't want to to because it's just a horrible thing to do. And it was just a really interesting story because you've got this like sea, like piratey kind of feel of a story, but then it got really sad in certain parts when you're like thinking about the slaves and how people got hurt, and characters from book 1 are coming into this story, and it was done really well. And there's not much else that I can really talk about because it is a book 2 and it's also spoilers for book 1, but I really did enjoy this book, and it's definitely set up for it to be a very epic battle that's obviously going to be happening because I felt there was a battle happening by the end of book 1, but this one has really solidified that feel because it's about to go down. So I am pretty happy with my wrap up though, and definitely the Contemporary-a-thon helped me read quite a few more books, and I also had the 2 audiobooks. So 8 books this month was quite a shock to me, but I am so glad that I read so much. Okay, so I read 8 books and I ended up buying 12, and I also bought 6 so far in the month of March, which I haven't added to this, but my birthday is in March and I was getting like money from people. Of course, because I don't really have money to buy books anymore because of my challenge. When I got birthday money, I'm like, well, I could just ask them to buy the books and they would have. So I ended up buying like a few books for my birthday, and I've been receiving books from different things. So I don't think I bought that much really in the past 3 months, but it's just because I had the birthday money. And I mean, come on, it's like Christmas just happened and then my birthday happens, and hopefully for the rest of the year it won't be as bad, and I'm really going to try and like maintain that. Like, I mean, really, I'm doing a lot better than I've done in the past, and I'm quite proud of myself. So I just told you all the books that I read, and then I forgot to tell you what challenges it related to for my TBR money challenge, so I'm just going to go through that quick. So the Disasters fit the challenge of read a diverse book, and I added $5 to my jar. The Kiss Quotient fit for the challenge of a non-YA book because it was an adult book, so that added $5 to my challenge. So then I bought 2 books that lost $16 from my TBR money jar, so then my new total was $21. Then I bought another book that took it down by another $5, so that made the new total $16. And then I read The Chaos of Standing Still, and that was a book that takes place in a single day, so that added another $5. Then I read Always Never Yours, which was a retelling of a classic, which was another $5. Then I read Love and Gelato, which was a book set in a country I want to visit, so another $5. Then I read Wind Witch, and that worked for a weather element in the title of the book, so another $5. Then I bought 5 new books and I only spent $11, so then the new total was then $25 again. Then I read American Street, which was an Own Voices book, and that added $10. Then lastly I read In Prison in the Sky, that was a book set at sea, and that added $5 to my jar. So my total for the end of the month in February was $40, so I have $40 to buy books with, and that is pretty exciting. And I'm sorry if this was just very confusing. For me, with my challenges, I read a book and then I see if I can find a challenge where it fits into, and if not, I just use the color of the cover of the book because you can at least earn $2 for that if I can't fit a challenge. So at least every book I'm reading is earning some form of money, which is making it quite good for me because I can still read kind of what I want to read. But I think eventually, maybe in halfway through the year, when I'm starting to get a lot more challenges filled, but there's some that I need to actually read a specific book to fit that one, I will start being a bit more selective with my TBR. But I think it's going pretty well because I seriously am not buying as many books as I was buying in previous years, and I definitely think this is a challenge that is working for me, and from what I've heard, it is definitely working for Sasha as well. But anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I am really proud of myself for getting to 8 books because it's been so hard to try and read more than I have been, and 8 was just such a good number. Anyway guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!